Welcome to Under the Hood Podcast. In this podcast, we pop the hood and give you an inside look at the hows and whys of our ministry here at Cornerstone Church. I'm Michael Nave, your host. Well, it is my pleasure to welcome each of you to this episode of Under the Hood Podcast. And when we talk about under the hood, many times we're describing what's under the hood, the why behind what we do. And sometimes it's under the hood because we're talking about something that maybe you don't realize we do, which is our conversation as we talk about the Midwest Food Pantry distribution and Kaylee's Pantry. But before we go to those, Keith, I get to first welcome you to the table before we introduce Linda and Karen to the podcast. Keith, when you stepped into the missions director position, one of the first things I remember you doing was defining where mission is needed in our region. And food insecurity was the place you locked in on. So remind us of that journey and even what does food insecurity mean?
Yeah, I think we see it a lot, right? I mean, we see people that are telling us that they need food. Kind of as a definition, we're thinking of people that are literally hungry.
Yes.
And maybe not have the confidence of where their next meal is going to come from. So that's kind of that food insecurity. You know, a lot of us are blessed. We at our home, our refrigerator's full. We don't worry about these things. But there are people that are in our midst here in Southern Illinois that's not the case.
So what are some ways, some ministries were involved in that touch that food insecurity need before we jump into this one?
Yeah, it's really developed over the last 18 months, and we're thankful for everybody that volunteers in these different ministries. So just to start it out with, one of the first things that we started to do was just to support pantries.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about like the Salvation Army up on the square. Cammie was there at the time, and she invited us to come alongside her and volunteer. And we still do that work. So we're still volunteering alongside pantries. Karen's Pantry is one where my wife volunteers at. I can think of a couple different people from Cornerstone that volunteer there. So we're supporting them with our people and also with our finances in a lot of cases. So that's one element of what we're doing with food insecurity. Gumdrops will be another one.
Yes.
So we're blessed with Renew, and they generate funds that we can use to support. So right now we're providing $1,000 a month in financial support to Gumdrops.
Wow, yes.
That lets them buy all that food that they distribute out. And we also help them with people too. So we're just a month away from Gumdrops kicking off again for the school year, and obviously we'll be looking for people to help with that. And then senior boxes. That's one that we've had the last couple months. In fact, we just did it yesterday. So once a month, we're involved with the St. Louis Food Bank, and they provide us food that goes out to seniors that sign up for what's called the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, most often known as senior boxes.
Yes.
So we are fortunate enough to be a part of that program and to get to participate as well. And then what we're going to talk about today is the Midwest Food Bank, which we help collect food from them and distribute it out to pantries. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about that.
Well, Keith, it is, again, a joy to have you on the podcast and specifically talking about this way in which you've led our missions endeavor. Keith, thanks for what you do. And for today, thank you for bringing Linda and Karen along. So first, Linda Bickers, it is so good to have you here. I hear that we call you the General. Now, why in the world do we call you the General?
I call myself more of a logistics coordinator, just trying to make sure things flow well, because having helped Salvation Army a few times, what it takes to pick up food from pantries, trying to put myself... Those are run by volunteers also. So anything we can do from a prayer aspect to helping them load, their time is so valuable. So that's what I really specialize at, in making it a smooth and easy as possible for those that are giving their time.
Right. Okay. So back up for a moment. Linda, you and Chris have been around Cornerstone for a while. Give us your story of when you guys got involved.
We got involved with Cornerstone in 2005 when it was on the Bainbridge Trail here in Marion, and it outgrew its space.
Right.
There were a lot of discussions. Where do we go from here?
Yes.
We can't meet the needs of the people in the community and actually serve and do mission type things. And then you came along, Michael, and a group of people from the church. You had an out of the box thinking of, what if this empty Walmart building could become a church?
Yes.
The congregation prayed about it.
Yes.
And took the leap, not because we wanted a grandiose building, but what could we do with blank space to meet the mission needs and the growing needs of the community. And that's really what started it.
Love it.
What I saw was a big white box. And Keith, you said one of the very first things you saw in this old Walmart building was a loading dock.
Loading dock, absolutely.
And now for the Midwest Pantry food distribution, using that loading dock at the back of our old Walmart building has become really essential to what we do. So how did you get involved with this ministry, and what do you love about this food distribution?
How the church got involved with it was Cammie, who used to be over in charge of Salvation Army, approached Keith about the Fairfield Distribution Center was closing down in like 30 days.
There was a need,
which meant none of the pantries in Southern Illinois could get food unless somebody had a loading dock that was available to unload a semi full of food.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, let's go for it.
Yes.
And he brought it up to myself and some other people here at the church. And we said, hey, we'll volunteer and help.
Yes. So give us a little bit of a description. Who is the Midwest Food Bank, and why do we partner with them? Why did this turn out to be not only a need, but also a need that you guys looked at and said, hey, this is really important? So who is Midwest Food Bank?
They started in 2003 in Bloomington Normal, Illinois, by the Kaiser family. They just started accepting local donations and then offering it as a pantry to their local community.
Yes.
And very faith-based driven. It grew and grew and grew, and they have several locations in the state, and they're the largest food distribution nationwide in the U.S. is how large they've grown.
Wow. Right here in Illinois. My goodness.
But the biggest thing is when we saw that 20-something pantries could not get any food until someone opened their doors and was willing to accommodate it. Very few churches have a loading dock.
Yes. What a blessing from God. So this is a monthly event. Describe what happens here at our old loading dock on a monthly frequency, and then what does that look like? All of those kind of things.
Takes about 20 to 30 volunteers.
Wow.
Between 9 and 10 o'clock, a regular full-size semi with pallets full of food shows up. And between a forklift and pallet jacks, we get it all unloaded in about an hour and a half. We load the dry full semi, and then another refrigerated truck shows up, and that all gets unloaded. And starting about 12:30, we start stacking pallets, and the trailers show up. They have a pick sheet. They get to mark what they want off of what's on the truck.
Now, where are these trailers coming from that are coming to pick up the food that you're distributing?
Ooh, there's 20 of them. They're all probably within an hour from here. So from Thebes to Grand Chain to Murfreesboro to just basically draw a circle around Marion an hour distance, and it's from all over.
These are partnering organizations who are actually boots on the ground, sharing food with people that show up at our distribution center to receive that food. Do we have any idea of how many people are being impacted, how many people are being fed totally through our distribution center? Do we have any guess on that?
We don't know that number, I don't think. What we do know is last truck was 77,000 pounds of food.
77,000
is what was distributed. So,
wow.
Yeah. And when we talked to Karen, she may have some idea of, the food that gets to her and how she's able to leverage that.
Well, let's do that. Karen, it is so good to have you join us for our podcast, Under the Hood. You are Karen Braden.
That's right.
And you have Kaylee's Pantry.
Yes.
And then some really good news. You are an active participant at Grange Hall.
That's right.
One of the just incredible church here in our region. So jump us into the story. How did you get involved with food insecurity?
Well, about 3 years or so ago when COVID first started, actually I was at Walmart and the shelves were bare. And I was walking up and down the aisle, and honestly, I was thinking about the end times and what it was going to be like, someday. Is this what it's going to be like? And, people are fighting over toilet paper and there's nothing here. And I'm thinking, oh, God, help us, And right then, God pricked something in my heart. And I wasn't really sure at that moment what it was. Mm-hmm. And, it didn't go away. So I kept praying, and I said, God, if you're leading me in a direction, let me know. Yeah. Let me know what it is. And from previous experience at a church many years ago that I had went to, they had been involved in a food pantry.
Okay.
And I thought, God, if this is what you're asking me to do, then show me, let me know. I don't want this to be me. I want it to be you.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep. I couldn't let it go. And I kept praying. I said, God, if it's you, I thought, well, let me just call and see what's involved. So I called, it was a different food bank, but one that I had been involved with at a previous church, and just asked what it would take to get started.
Okay.
And there was a lot. I mean, it was a lot. And I thought and I prayed and I said, God, there's just no way. This is just me. I'm not a church.
Right.
I'm not an organization. It's just me,
Yeah.
And I said, if it's you, God, let me know. And I prayed about it and prayed about it and prayed about it. And I finally said, I need to know, God, if this is you, I want to know it's you. And lo and behold, the food bank called me. They called me.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. And they were like, I think, didn't you talk to somebody a few months ago? And I'm like, yeah, but, it's just me. I'm not a church. I'm not a 501c3.
Sure.
It's just me. And I kind of felt like Moses saying, I'm not good enough. I'm speech impaired, whatever, making excuses.
Yes.
And it was just incredible how God put everything in my path. And I knew it was him. Mm-hmm. And I said, God, okay. And so it wasn't just a few weeks later, they called me back again. And they said, hey, we've got a need. And we've got these senior bags. And we don't have anybody to distribute it. And then they're like, well, wait a minute. We do have people to distribute it, but they're not doing it.
Okay.
So we really need to get them out there. And I said, well, that would be great. But, I'm not a 501c3. I'm not a church. I'm not a this. I'm not this. I'm not this. And they said, but would you do it? And I said, the rules say I have to be, And they're like, we're going to change the rules for you.
Oh, wow.
And I said, let me pray about it. And they're like, you've got the building. You've got this. You've got this. And I said, yes, but I still want to pray about it. And the doors just opened up. And they said, we're going to make this exception for you. We haven't made it for anybody else. And I said, okay. So I started out with 80 senior bags, which very small.
Okay.
And
yes,
it was kind of sad, actually, because I kind of felt bad. That's all I had to offer, this little bitty bag of food. But I thought, God, it's a start. This is where you want me to start. That's where I'll start. And doors just opened up, and they sent me 80 bags, and they're like, don't feel bad. This is what, you have all month to get rid of it. You have this, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, I'm going to start slow. I'm not going to advertise big or anything yet. I live out, I don't live in town. I live out in the rural area. Mm-hmm. And I thought, it's just 80 bags, but I'll just start with my Facebook account and just let people know what I have to offer. So I didn't know what to expect. Only put it on Facebook. We got ready to open up, and within 7 minutes, we were out of food.
7 minutes?
7 minutes.
Wow.
We were completely out of food. I called them back, and I said, hey, we just got done here. And I said, is there any way you can give me more bags next month? And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, we just had our distribution. And I said, food was out in 7 minutes. And she was like, you got to be kidding me. She's like, we got people just down the road from you that can't get rid of 25, 50 bags. And you got rid of it in 7 minutes. I said, yeah. So they increased my bags. And I said, I want to know what you're doing that's different. And I said, what do you mean? And they're like, other people can't get rid of them. What are you doing that's different? And I said, look, God's in this.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. It's not me. It's not anything I'm doing. I haven't done any fancy advertising or anything. God's in this. So they increased my bags. The next month, they had to increase them again. Mm-hmm. Within a few months, they increased them again. And they called me back and they said, hey, we haven't seen anything like this before. And again, it's not me. This is what I feel like God wanted for our area. So I said, and I give God all the credit for it. And I said, hey, I love it. I wish I could do more. And they said, please consider being a 501c3. We can't, we want you to be a food pantry. Okay. If you're doing this for our community, this is what we want you to do. And I said, again, I got to pray about it because that's, it's a lot of money, a lot of attorney fees, a lot of, board of directors, a lot of things that I wasn't expecting. And we prayed about it, my husband and I, and I felt like that's, God got us in the door. And it just took off from there. And since then, we now have, like I said, we started with 80 senior bags, just little bags. Now we serve, in the month of June, we served over 900 people.
Wow.
Just in June. And we do senior day once a month. We do emergency food for those that's under 60 on Tuesdays by appointment. And then we also do emergency food every day as needed.
Okay. So how is it that the Midwest Pantry Food Distribution out of Cornerstone's facility, how does that facilitate what you're doing?
Oh, Midwest has honestly been a lifesaver for me. As like I said, we have been involved with other food banks, and I'm not here to tear anybody down because it's all been a process.
Yes.
But with Midwest, they're not just a resource of food for me. They're here to comfort me. They're here to guide me.
Truly partnering.
They pray for me. They help me when I have needs. I have people from Midwest that actually come to my pantry and help me.
Yes.
And again, I say I'm not a church like most pantries are. Mm-hmm. So, I do have many wonderful volunteers, but again, it's not like, having a congregation of 500 where you can just, or 300 to say, hey, we need 100 people this week, know. So it's been an adventure, but, the very first time I came to Midwest, I was floored. They pull up, they talk to you, they treat you like a person. Mm-hmm. They don't treat you like a number, which is, big in my pantry. We want to make sure that people aren't treated like numbers. Yes. They pray for me. They ask me my needs. And what really touched my heart the very first time I came is I had no idea of very few people here. Of course, I knew Keith and I knew his wife and a few other people. But they seen I was by myself, and they was like, do you have help when you get home? And I'm like, I live in Goreville. I don't live here in Marion. So it don't make any difference. I had 3 people that day that offered to follow me back to Goreville to help me unload if I needed it.
Yes.
I was shocked. I was amazed at how accommodating everybody was.
I got to steal just a second here because a lot of what we've done in developing how we distribute the food. So the fact that we greet people and check them in, and there's somebody to pray for them, that they're offered a snack and water and all the assistance that they're offered, it comes because we patterned it off what Karen's doing at her pantry.
Right.
So we saw the love and how she was, just sharing the love of Christ in what she does. And it was easy to say that's exactly how we need to do it here.
Yeah, Karen, thank you for being an influence in the way we get to do that here. What needs does Kaylee's have presently, and how can people help?
Again, because we are not, we are an organization now, and we are a 501c3 now, which I'm very grateful to God for. He's provided that for us as well. But, we don't have a church budget to go from. We go from just donations. So back in May, I believe, when the tornado came through, we didn't get hit with a tornado, but we got hit with the storm from the tornado. Yeah. We lost $17,000 worth of food.
Oh, wow. That
couldn't be replaced right then, and we needed it right then. So we had our commercial freezer that was affected, and it's a $20,000 freezer. Our air conditioner got hit. It blew up our outside lights, just shattered them. So we're still, trying to recoup some of that, trying to move forward. And we're also trying to, because we are getting more food and we are serving more people, we're trying to pour more concrete for when the other food banks deliver to us. We don't have enough room right now for them to deliver, and they have to deliver on a concrete setting. So we're always looking to better ourselves.
Okay.
So we're hoping to build on to a lean-to onto the front of our building for some of our seniors, so they have shade and a shelter of some kind when they come to see us.
So good. Thank you so much for being here.
Well,
it is a joy to serve with you. As Keith just said, to be impacted by your ministry, it's a joy to serve with you.
Thank you for having me.
So, Linda, back to you, General. Your ministry is clearly making a difference, as Karen just shared, specifically in our partnership with them. How can people get involved with the Midwest Food Bank distribution? How can people sign up? How can people reach out? What needs do you have for your team?
Oh, volunteers takes a lot of manpower.
You said 20 to 30 every month?
Every month.
Okay.
And the more hands we have, the less weight people have to lift and move. But even if you're, have physical issues, being part of the prayer team, the greeting, the serving people. So we will take anybody that's willing and has a heart to serve in this capacity. But the easiest way is probably just to send an email to missions@cornerstone.team.
Yes, missions@cornerstone.team. Just shoot an email.
And then just say, hey, I'd like to be involved with the food bank, food pantry distribution, and name and number, and we will contact you and meet with you and
get you on the team.
Get you on the team. There is on the job training, but we'll meet with you ahead of time to make sure that you're comfortable. And
absolutely,
it's a group effort. In no way is it an individual. It takes a full team and great group of people.
It's a cool community. It sure is.
Yes. It's quite an active place at the side of the building when it is distribution Thursday happening. So what an exciting thing to see. Linda, thank you so much for your incredible ministry. Really appreciate what you're doing.
Couldn't do it without all the wonderful people and Keith.
Yes.
Well, speaking of wonderful people, can I put a shameless plug in?
You may.
We did not talk about Renew. And the space that we use for food distribution is actively used every day of the month by Renew, except for they break everything down, clean everything up, and empty it all out just so we can do food distribution. So in addition to being a great funding source for us and all the good work that they do,
they are super gracious on relinquishing that space and then working in cramped quarters for the day to facilitate it. So it goes way beyond just this mission.
Yeah, for sure.
For the three of you, it is such a joy to sit at the table, to talk about ministry, to recognize how the Lord is leading each of you. And what a joy to look under the hood and take a look at a ministry that several of our people did not know for sure fully what you're up to. Thanks for helping us take a look today.